Okari nasai to the Minimal Effort Anime Edition podcast. I am one of your hosts, Fire Panda, also known as FP, and this is your other host,
Xander, and I am the much, much worser punk of Sarioski Junior High. Remember, blood tastes like iron.
and today we will be talking about Pong The Animation. It first came out on April 11, 2014, and this is actually an adaptation of the manga Ping Pong that was published from 1996 to 1997. So it took it some time, but it finally got published, and much to our enjoyment because it is a great anime.
This is a very good coming-of-age story. It stars Smile and Pico, I would say, are the two main protagonists of this story, who grow up as close friends, but very different and polarizing figures, both on opposite sides of the spectrum. Smile is a very quiet, to-himself person. He doesn't like to be pushed. He doesn't push himself hard. Pico, on the other hand, is the star of our story. He is the hero. He is the hero from the planet Ping Pong, here to save us. And through their ping pong adventures and performances, their battle against their rivals, these two characters, as well as their rivals, grow in huge ways.
It is a great coming-of-age story that utilizes ping pong to tell its story. One of the things we have to address is the naivety of these characters. Some who think they're the best, some who doubt their true talent, others that don't really understand their place in the world. And I think we'll start with our lunar character, Smile. My boy Smile. Originally called this because he never smiles. A very stoic figure this man is. But we find out later in the story that he actually at one point used to smile. Big shock, right, Sander?
Honestly, it was kind of a big shock for what we know about Smile at the given time. We don't really see him smile a whole lot throughout the story. What Pico says in an episode is, Pico did not give him the name Smile because he doesn't smile. Pico gave him the name Smile because of what he looks like when he plays ping pong.
And I think that's just a great example of having a friend by your side that really knows how you tick. Smile, he has so much self-doubt. He is very naive about what it means to be a ping pong player for him. He doesn't see it as enjoyment, but he really does enjoy it. He enjoys the sport. It brings him happiness. But it feels like he doesn't want to give himself that happiness that he rightfully deserves.
It does seem like he doesn't quite want to give himself that happiness. He looks at Pico like Pico is his hero. And for good reason. Pico is one of the only people that saw Smile for what he actually was. In fact, during, I believe it's the first episode, Pico doesn't come to practice on the first day. And Smile is there, and he is just annihilating all of the upperclassmen. And this is his first year at the school. He is a first year, and no one can even come close to him. And the coach says, has that kid ever been on the team before? No, he hasn't. He's the first year. Cut to the second day. Smile is playing Pico. And the coach looks at him. He says, is that the same kid? He doesn't look like he's playing anywhere near as hard. And it's because Smile has not a mental block, but he doesn't play as hard as he can against Pico. Not on purpose. He subconsciously holds himself back against Pico because he doesn't want to be the best. He wants to help Pico become what he can be. So Smile has to overcome this, and that's part of his big journey. And we'll see at the end of this story, Smile is nothing like he is right now.
And it kind of goes to show just where his mindset is. He thinks that the best way to help Pico is by going easy on him. And that's not the way to help him because Pico's a true competitor. He loves the sport. He wants to be the best. But how can he be the best when his best friend is holding back against him? It's almost a slap to the face. And that's something that Smile realizes. That holding yourself back for the benefit of others doesn't benefit anybody. It just hurts yourself. And I don't know about you, Sander, but when I was younger, I would sometimes be considerate to the point of over-consideration. Now I know that was actually not really helping any person involved in those situations.
I definitely had my moments when I was younger where I was, like you said, overly considerate of some people, and that doesn't really get you anywhere. It doesn't get the other person anywhere. The only thing that ever really happened in my life was I got taken advantage of by those people who I was more considerate of than the average person.
Luckily for this story, Pico did not take advantage of Smile, but Pico has his own naive mentality. And that's that he wants to be the best, but he also really doesn't want to put in all that work because he thinks he's already the best. And it's not until he comes to some strong people that he realizes, you know what, maybe I'm not cut out for this. And that's when he gets his first taste of hard work.
Yeah, so his first big defeat comes against a Chinese foreign exchange student called Kong or China. Him and Smile both skip practice to go play Kong, but the only person that plays him is Pico. When Coach finds out about this, he asks where they are, and the other players on the team kind of say, "Oh, they went to go play some Chinese kid," and Coach says, "Well, that's good. They'll learn something." And I think it was Captain Yamata said, "Do you think they'll really lose?" And he says, "Even the strongest panther have to watch out for lions," meaning that there's always someone better than you out there waiting to beat you. And Pico does not really respond well to this. This is the first time he's ever really been challenged before.
And it just goes to show that some people are naturally talented and they don't really have to work that hard. But whenever they do, since they have not met failure before, they don't know how to handle it. Now, obviously, in this anime, he's meant to be shown as a superhero figure that falls down to his knees. And it kind of, I don't know, for me, it gave me a sense of satisfaction of like, yeah, you know what failure tastes like now. Now you just need to work hard.
Yeah, I definitely think Pico failing made him more sympathetic in his redemption arc that he has later on in the show. But let's talk about a player that has no natural talent, and that is Sakuma. What do you think about Sakuma's story? What do you think it really reflects?
So, Sakuma is kind of hard to root for at the beginning just because his character design is not the most appealing character visually. But that goes to show my naive side because honestly, once you peel back that layer and look at him and his personality, he's a really enjoyable character. This dude worked hard to get acknowledged by Pico, the best player around this area. He works hard even though he may never amount to Pico's talents. But that hard work definitely evens out the playing field somewhat.
Somewhat. So Sakuma's naivete was thinking that it comes to him becoming the best and him becoming a world champion. And he thinks that hard work is going to overtake talent no matter what. Unfortunately, that is not true in this scenario. I kind of think this teaches a bad lesson in the fact that sometimes it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're going to get beat by someone more talented than you. But I also think it's just realistic. I don't think it mattered how hard I worked as a average height, average athleticism white guy. I was probably never going to make it to the NBA no matter how hard I worked.
I don't know. I think it does teach a good lesson. It's just a bitter pill to swallow because we are all, since young, probably taught, look, whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve. It's a very nice fantasy to hold on to, but it's just that. It's a dream. The good thing about stories like this is that even if you don't have the talent and you put in the work, you still will be recognized. Sakuma was recognized in the end, and that's really what he was looking after. We ourselves, we don't have to be recognized by an outside force. As long as we acknowledge that we have achieved our goal, I think that is a good goal to achieve.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Sakuma really did meet his goal, because I think his goal all along was to beat Pico. And now he beats Pico in Pico's downfall, and he beats him at, maybe his lowest point, but he still beats him. And that is what he's been working for ever since he was a little kid, because they played at the same ping pong club when they were little.
And I don't think that's a deficit to Kasuma's achievement, because that just goes to show how weak mentally Pico was. He should have been prepared. And I think, taught him a good lesson that, wait a second, Kasuma, he beat me. He's put in the work. I know he's put in the work. Maybe I could put in the work too.
Yeah, maybe he could. Even after this happens, it still takes Pico months to accept that he is going to work hard to become great. He doesn't do it right off the bat.
And that is realistic because that was the seed that was planted. And it takes a while for any individual to accept harsh truths in their life. Had he immediately gone to hard work mode, I don't think that would have really been realistic. I don't know if our listeners feel this, but whenever I have failed in certain things that I've tried really hard in, it maybe took me a while to bounce back. But once I finally accepted and got over my own ego, it felt nice. It felt nice to get on a journey that I knew would have a positive end goal for me.
Yeah, whenever you have something you're working towards and you know it's hard and you meet that goal and it is a positive thing, there is just a great satisfactory feeling in that.
So let's talk about Dragon. I want to know what you thought about Dragon.
I mean, at first, I definitely thought he was just kind of a jerk. No other way around it at the beginning. But I think the more you learn about him, you learn about his past, his family's past, he definitely becomes somewhat of a more sympathetic figure.
I mean, that's a harsh past that he had lived.
Yeah, it was an extremely harsh past, constantly being pushed. I mean, he doesn't even know if he likes the game of ping pong. He just has always played it since he was little. There was never any way around it. After his father died, he was just constantly pushed and he had no other option, so he never knew if he liked this game or not, which is something that I love about the last episode. Or maybe not the last episode, but his final ping pong match in this show, I think it just takes all the burden off of his shoulder.
Yeah, and that really goes to show he was trapped in this cage and he felt that he had to do this out of a sense of routine, obligation towards his father's demise. Like sometimes we in our life, we get pushed to do something not of our own free will, but of somebody else's. And we don't do it because we like it or we want to be good at it, but we do it because, well, I was told this is what I need to do, may as well do it. This gives my life some sort of purpose. And I definitely am excited to talk about Dragon's freedom when he finally became liberated and the burdens came off his shoulders. Let's talk about some doubt in Kong. That has to be pretty harsh, being expelled from your country and going to Japan, to what is considered the lower leagues, to play ping pong there to redeem himself. And if he does well enough, then he's welcome to come back home. And when he first comes, I love the airplane that goes over his head. That really shows where his mind is at. He just wants to go home. He's coming here, he's going to get down to business and go home. But then he realizes that the people down here aren't that bad. And that maybe he's going to have his work cut out for him. Maybe not right away, because there are some people that definitely have a spark in them that could challenge him. Over the progressions of the episodes, it's nice to see that he starts to doubt his superior ping pong skills.
So Kong just smacked Pico in like the second episode. I don't think Pico even scored a point against him. And after that, we just see Kong kind of practicing with his team until the tournament. And the tournament, he just kind of walks through a couple matches, and then he faces Smile. And at the very beginning, he is beating Smile pretty badly, but then Smile just starts rallying off points against him. Smile dominates the second game, so it's tied 1-1, and the winner of this next game goes on. And Smile kind of knows what Kong's deal is. He knows that if he doesn't win, he's not going back to China. I think Smile just completely takes a dive in this scenario and just kind of decides, well, you know what, I'll just let you win. And we'll see what happens in the finals against Kazuma.
Yeah, I do have to agree in that once again, subconsciously, he was considering the situation that Kong was in. Plus, Kazuma is a scary dude, too. The way that he was playing, Smile didn't know if he could take him on.
That again kind of relates to Smile. I'm not sure Smile did it 100% because he wanted Kong to be able to go back to China. I think he doubted his skills to beat Kazuma as well.
I really do like the symbolism of the dragon, the mythical creature, you know, the greatest obstacle that Kong has to beat. It is quite apt that to go home, Kong has to beat a dragon.
And boy, does he not beat a dragon.
With the tournament that happened, Pico falls into this deep rut. And he's considering, you know what, maybe I had a good time. Time to hang up the paddle and call it a day.
Yeah, Pico actually retires from ping pong. I mean, not officially, but he definitely discusses retiring from ping pong. He doesn't show up to practice. He's not really doing anything for a while. He's eating a lot of candy. He's gaining weight. That's a kind of a running gag every time someone sees him. They're like, oh man, you really are gaining weight. He grows his hair out really long. He's suddenly really tan for some reason.
Yep.
I mean, and he even picks up smoking. I mean, he is in just another world from where he was when we began. He's not that happy-go-lucky, confident player anymore.
No, because his ego is shattered. Who he thought he was completely ruined. And I love this journey that Pico went with. It didn't really matter how he started. Obviously, him being so optimistic and then ending at this state makes it the best contrast. If the viewer were to put themselves in this shoe, anybody that falls down to this level of depression can greatly appreciate the sentiment that Pico was going through. It feels like the world was over, and really, what else was there to do? Just life was not that enjoyable, so you do whatever you can do to make yourself happy, and then you find out it doesn't really make you happy. You don't really have this escape from the darkness that you want to. And it's funny that what was it that snapped him out of it?
Someone is really pushing Pico to get back into ping pong, and it's actually Sakuma, someone who seemingly hates Pico because of his natural ability and the fact that he's never been able to beat him before that last time he played. But Sakuma realizes he's not that talented, and he basically urges Pico over and over again to try to get back into ping pong, and that he has all the talent, and if he would just work hard, Kazuma knows he could be a great ping pong player.
Yeah, there's nothing like having a good rival. In real life, if you have the ability to have a friend that pushes you, that's pretty good. And if you don't, having you yourself having that inner strength is great. I know not everybody possesses it. It takes time, it takes hard work to get that voice inside you that pushes you forth. But I think everyone in life should strive to find a rival, whether that be another person or even within yourself.
Yeah, everyone needs a nice, friendly rivalry. It doesn't have to be intense. You don't have to be at each other's throat. I think having someone in your life that will push you to become a better version of yourself is a good thing.
And it could even be a past self. Like if you write stuff for yourself in the last year and then you read it in the future, heck, you're a rival with your past and future self.
That is an interesting way to look at it. I've never really thought about it that way before, to be honest. But you're right. Maybe I should start doing that.
Yeah, or I'll be your Vegeta to your Goku.
Oh, dude.
Season 1.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I'm definitely more of the Vegeta between the two of us.
Oh, for sure. So, Kong. He falls into a slump, too. He starts to even doubt what ping pong means to him.
Yes, he does. That he does. I think it's interesting that in the first half of the show, Kong is depicted just not really caring about his teammates. He thinks they're all dumb. They're not good at ping pong. He doesn't care about them. But I think that, the people who really pull him out of that rut at the end of the day are his teammates that he supposedly doesn't care about. He makes it his mission to make them better ping pong players.
And I think that's great because he was actively pushing people away. The anime teammate culture in Japan is we're a team, we're very tight knit together for the most part. Most of the times that's what anime depicts. But in real life, whenever you're going through a hard time, you want to push people away. You want to push away your friends, your family, your loved ones. But hopefully we are all able to find a support system that really understands us. Like, okay, FP is going through a hard time right now. He needs some time. When he's ready, he'll come to us. Or, in this case, heck, we're going to keep bothering China until he accepts us. You know what? All that constant nagging finally broke through his wall, and Kong accepted his teammates, and he was so grateful for it. Grateful for people that kept trying to be there for him when he needed them most.
The funny thing about him is he almost never shows that he cares about these people to their faces. He's constantly belittling them, and they will constantly ask him, oh, does that mean I can be as good as you? Does that mean I can be as good as Smile? Does that mean I can be as good as Pico? Whoever it is, as long as they keep working hard. And he goes, oh, there's no chance that you'll ever be as good as them.
He's like a tsundere.
Yeah, he will never, ever let them get, the last word. He'll never let them have peace. Because I think deep down he does want to keep pushing them, and he doesn't want them to get too big of a head just because they have made some improvements in the past few months.
And doesn't that speak highly of his character? Because he used to have a huge head, and now he realizes that's not good. And even though it may not be the healthiest to demean himself or others, it's what keeps him honest. He does it in an endearing way.
Yeah, I think he definitely shows a lot of growth as a character throughout this whole show, and he really helps drive the narrative of this story. He's like a B-level protagonist in this show that you really do want to root for. He's almost like an anti-hero, but for ping pong.
And it definitely needed it too, because there's so many good protagonists that he fits the role of anti-hero pretty well.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Let's talk about Kazuma the Dragon real quick. We now know that his backstory is that his father died, and he kept doing ping pong as a way to keep some order in his life. It's really all that he knew. And he is doing it to provide. Provide for himself, provide for his family, just to provide. It's definitely not healthy, this kind of mentality. You should not do something because of somebody else. You should try and do something because you want to, because otherwise you're not going to enjoy it. You're just going to have a miserable time and you're not really going to grow as a person, which is what makes the final battle so beautiful.
Kazuma's final battle against Pico, I think it really shines for Pico. And I think a lot of these characters Pico will face in this final tournament are characters that aren't happy and we don't really see smile. And Pico, as he says throughout the entire anime, he is the hero of this story. Even though I kind of think we see this story more through Smile's point of view than his, Pico really is the hero of this show, even if it seems like he is the side to Smile at times.
Yeah, I really like the subversion of expectations here because obviously, anytime that you are watching a show like this and the first main character you see, you're like, okay, this is the main character of the show. We're looking at it through their eyes. This is who the protagonist is. But I have to agree with you. I mean, the show says in itself, Pico is the hero. He is the one that shines brightly. He is the sun. And Smile is just the moon that reflects his personality.
I'm glad you mentioned that because there is a sun on Pico's and a moon on Smile's jersey, and that is very subtle, but it's something that really it holds true because Pico shines on Smile as he is the hero, and he is one of the only people, if not the only person, that makes Smile happy and sees Smile as a friend.
Yeah, he's the only one that sees him as a human and not the robot that people call him.
So, I think the final battle between Pico and Kazuma, it has great metaphors in it. Throughout the battle, we don't only see them playing ping pong, we see them as, Pico in his hero form and Kazuma who, well, first let me say that Pico is constantly trying to fly. He constantly wants to fly and Kazuma constantly says, humans can't fly. That's not possible. And we have Pico in his superhero form. He has wings and he is flying. And Kazuma is down in what appears to be like a ditch, like a little box that he can't get out of. And that symbolizes, his whole life, which has been pre-planned for him to become great at ping pong. During this ping pong match, Kazuma finally starts to have fun. And Kazuma grows wings and learns how to fly during this match. And I think it was absolutely a beautiful sequence. And I think it is driven home even more in his interview after the match when the reporter asks him, oh, are you hurt? Are you this? Are you that? How did you lose? And he says, I lost because I wasn't the better player. Pico is a better player than me. And that is the only reason I lost.
Man, that character growth, that moment where he became this butterfly, where he found freedom and he was released from the shackles of his past self. That was so beautiful, man. I'm always pleased to see when people are able to grow past their traumas and able to gain freedom and thus gain happiness. And the fact that it was Pico who, having found himself and being centered around who he really is, was able to help somebody else does reflect real life because whenever we are at peace with ourselves, we can help other people. And if we were all able to free ourselves from the expectations of other people and stop being over considerate, then we can really start trying to find happiness that we all deserve.
And I think the great thing about Pico in this final tournament is it's not just Kazuma he does that with. He does it with Kong, and he also does it with Smile in the finals. He has a certain way of releasing their burdens, and through the way that he plays, through his passion, these are all characters you don't see smile much, but after they lose, instead of being mad, instead of looking disappointed, they all smile. They don't have this scowl on their face because they lost. They're smiling because they finally, they had fun playing ping pong and the first time since who knows when.
I was really pleased with the outcome between Kong and Pico's match because I was definitely in the camp that did not like Kong at the beginning, but by the end, I was a freaking Kong stan.
I mean, I agree. I love Kong by the end of the show, and I thought he was, just kind of a jerk at the beginning because, he obviously was. Before we move on from Kazuma, I want to get your thoughts on this little side plot we had with Kazuma's grandfather and the whole reason why he wants Kazuma to be this great ping pong player. I find it so interesting that his grandfather's grand scheme of having this world champion ping pong playing grandson is that he wants to sell these shoes that are made for ping pong mats. And how does he unveil these shoes? He has Kazuma in a commercial, and then he pays whatever high school ping pong association they play for to use these mats that these shoes are specifically made for, and there's no other way. All the pros play with these shoes on these mats. What did you think about this just really contrived plot to make money?
I don't know how many of our listeners are also NBA fans. For the record, I am LA born. I've been a LA Lakers fan for life. And what I thought of immediately was Lonzo Ball and his father
Oh
and the
no.
BBB brand.
Dude, that's right.
And it really just goes to show that, look, you got to put yourself first. There are people that will take advantage of you, and you shouldn't let them, even if it is family. Actually, especially if it is family. Just because you're family doesn't mean it's automatically okay. I thought it was silly. I just thought of that Lonzo Ball analogy right off the bat.
I thought it was so great that that was his like big plan. He's like, I'm gonna sell these shoes.
Look, some evil master plans just have small goals in mind.
You know, a small goal is a goal worth working for, though.
So let's talk about Smile and how he changed as a character. First of all, I thought Smile was, on the boring side, but he's meant to be at the beginning. But I really liked his thought process because he really does show what it means to be a quiet, reserved, analytical, considerate person, which I guess was the point so people could relate to him. But I felt at times he was just too much. He was way too considerate to the point where I was starting to get aggravated with him and be like, Smile, please just, stand up for yourself. You can do it. I believe in you. What did you think?
Well, yeah, he definitely showed that when he faced Kong in the first tournament, because he definitely could have beaten Kong, but he was being thoughtful and considerate. And I think it's interesting how they kind of parallel Smile and his coach, Butterfly Joe, because he basically tells Smile that, oh yeah, I also was just maybe too considerate when I was playing ping pong. I probably could have gone further than I did, but I was too nice. And just like you, I don't want you to make that same mistake I did.
And I really like how he found himself at the end. He opened this locker that he had kept himself in. He subconsciously let go of what was holding him back. And he started to have fun in that final match with Pico. And they were both just smiling and having a ball. It shows that there's hope for anybody. Anybody's able to overcome anything. Sometimes you just need that final push by a good, trusted ally.
I really feel like him coming out of the locker at that end scene kind of symbolized him coming out of his cocoon in a way, because in the show he's really depicted as a butterfly, just like Butterfly Joe.
Yeah.
And he finally spreads his wings and starts to fly, as Pico would say.
The time skip that we see occur. I was not expecting Smile to hang up the cap professionally. I thought he would have continued as a ping pong player, but he found happiness in a different avenue, still related to ping pong. I was just not expecting that.
Yeah, I was also pretty surprised by that. Pico winds up winning that championship, and it seems like Smile just kind of retires. He wants to become a middle school teacher and coach ping pong, which is great for him. Him and Kazuma are actually talking in the last episode, and Kazuma kind of asks if he knows how everyone's doing, and he just gives him a quick rundown of everyone. And Kazuma's like, how do you know all this? You keep up with all this still? He's like, yeah, all I have to do is Google search you. I mean, come on, it's not that hard.
He's funny, man. I love the robot.
Smile is funny. I like Smile a lot.
And then Kong, he finds some happiness in the end.
Yeah, Kong, he's playing professionally a little bit too. He's not quite on Pico's level, but he's there playing. So good for him.
So symbolism. Any symbolism that stood out to you? Obviously, I really liked the sun-moon analogy. I thought that was a really nice way to depict the characters of Pico and Smile.
So the first thing I'd like to talk about is flying and how that is related to the entire thing. You see birds so much in this show. So many overhead shots of birds and other things and butterflies, and those are all organic things. and organic reasons that these people want to be able to fly. But when it comes to Kong, the only flying thing depicted as an airplane, which is an artificial thing, first off, it is his way back home. It's just there. He's not super,
Yeah.
it's not organic. He doesn't want to fly for the right reasons. These are reasons given to him to want to fly. And I think that's a
His
very,
way
it's
back home.
definitely just a way different way that they symbolize flying for Kong than they do for all the other characters in this show.
I did not catch that. That's a good catch, Sander.
Thank you. So another thing that I like for symbolism in this show is the quote I started with, which is blood tastes like iron. I think this is so important because Smile is constantly referred to as a robot, no emotions. But every time he bleeds, they'll just show flashbacks of him bleeding. And Pico always reminds him that blood tastes like iron. And this just goes to show that no matter, how robotic someone acts, how cold someone can be, they are so similar. They taste the same. Blood tasting like iron shows that Smile is human, and that no matter what anyone thinks about him being a robot, humans and robots are, in this case, closer than people think they could be.
I'll take it a step further. I would even argue that in this situation, they are the same thing because Smile is living a life that he programmed himself, saying, okay, I have these parameters. I have to be considerate of others. I need to spare people's feelings, just in the way that we as humans can program robots to do certain things within certain parameters. In this case, Smile is his own programmer.
That's a much better way of saying what I was trying to say. Thank you so much, Mr. Fire Panda.
I think you did a great job, Sander. But I also think this quote is a good reflection of Kazuma because blood tastes like iron, iron being very robotic. Kazuma had a very robotic routine that he had to adhere to be at a peak athlete level. And it's only once he realizes that he's liberated of these shackles that he becomes organic, a butterfly, and he's free. And just when Smile realizes, I don't have to hide, I can be myself, he also becomes free. Blood tasting like iron, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing to be robotic, as long as we don't steal our heart.
Do you have anything else in the symbolism category that you'd like to talk about?
I don't think it's really symbolism, but I really just do like that the path that Smile took at the end could be one that you can consider more moderate or more. It's a much more chill path. He didn't end up being the superstar athlete. He's fine living a simple life. And whenever we're young, we aspire these huge dreams, and if we don't achieve these dreams in our life means nothing, there's nothing wrong in living a simple life.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that I think sometimes the best lives are the simplest ones. One more thing I would like to mention before we move on from symbolism is the color purple.
What about the color purple? I didn't even think about it.
Did you notice who wore the color purple the most in this show?
Wasn't it Kazuma?
So Kazuma wore the color purple. Coach Joe wore the color
Uh,
purple. And Obaba wore the color purple. And Kazuma's grandfather also wore the color purple. And all
oh.
of those people are looked at as respected people and older people, well, besides Kazuma, but they're all respected. And, when I think of purple, I kind of think of royalty and stuff like that. So I think
Yeah.
with the older three, they each had, respected ping pong careers. And I think when it comes to Kazuma, the purple he wore was trying to project him as that next set of this respected ping pong player. Even though he is respected by his team and locally by the world, I think is what his grandfather had in mind for him when he bought him that purple outfit. So let's move on to our final thoughts and our score of this anime. I think Ping Pong is a great coming of age story for several characters, and I think it's really impressive how they kind of juggle the narrative of so many different characters at once. I would say this show just like Madoka, is kind of hard because it's kind of in between two scores for me. I will say I do like this show more than Madoka. And I think I will give it a 9 out of 10 because I think this is a great show. I think it's better than Madoka, and I think it's better than everything else I have as an 8, but not quite a 10 for me.
Not quite a 10, I see. All right. I thought this was a phenomenal show. I loved it when I first saw it come out in 2014. I was a fan of the art style. I thought it was very unique. It is very true to the manga art style, which I think is a big plus. They kept true to the original vision. I enjoyed the journeys of all the characters. I think it did a great job of showing different points of views and what people feel as they're growing up. Trying to get to adulthood can be a very difficult journey, and it does suck at times, and you will have lows. But I think this show gives us a very hopeful message that even whenever you're going through hard times, there is a bright light that you can look forward to. Now, my score for this show is actually a 10. I think it is a masterpiece in its genre based on the OST, the artwork, the storytelling, the character dynamics, and the conclusion. I think all of these things combined makes it a must watch for any person out there. It's definitely one of my favorites of all time, and that's why I rate it out of 10.
Yes, I can tell. It just wasn't quite there for me. It doesn't quite hit. I don't know what it is that's holding it back for me, but it's just not. I don't know. It's just not special to me. Does that make sense? I'm very biased in the way I judge. I'm not very. I'm very.
No, that is, you have your own taste, and that is perfectly fine. It's not a 10 for you, but I'm happy that you at least gave it a 9.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a great show. I mean, it just is. Nothing else I can say about it other than that.
Alrighty, please visit us on minimal-effort.co to keep up with the latest episodes of our podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at minimaleffort_. And please follow Xander on Twitter at minimaleffort_A.
The A stands for anime.
And it's quite a genius move.
Next week, we will be talking about one of my favorite all-time anime. An anime so good it is in my top 5 anime of all time. Mob Psycho 100. Just like this week, that I had never seen Ping Pong, Mr. Panda has never seen Mob Psycho. So I'm very excited to talk about that with him.
I know, everybody, please calm down. I know I haven't watched it. I'm excited to watch it. I just never got the chance, and now I have the reason to. I am extremely excited. There is so much hype. Xander absolutely loves this show, and I am so ready to see the awesomeness that is Mob Psycho.
And with that, I guess we'll end our podcast, and we'll see you next week when we're talking about Mob Psycho 100.
Sayonara!